Hello, everyone. I'm Meenakshi Devan, a member of DLC Delhi chapter. I have over 25 years of work experience behind me in India and the US. In the past, I have held senior leadership positions at HSBC and IBM. I also had the opportunity to make a crossover to the development sector as the CEO of India Sanitation Coalition. Currently, I'm the managing director of a global investment bank. My interest in sustainability really got enhanced when I was trained as a sustainability leader by Earthwatch and HSBC. And that really drew my attention to what all corporates can do and should do. So for me, that was the turning point. CSR has been something, having worked in global organizations, it has been a focus area. But bringing in the sustainability aspect just changed the entire canvas for me on what difference we all can make, and as organizations, what we can do and the kind of impact that we can have. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Neelam Gupta. I'm one of the members of the DLC CSR committee. I'm the founder president of an NGO called RO Foundation. RO stands for A Ray of Hope. This foundation was established by me in the year 2001, and it's been more than 20 years since the foundation has been working towards social good. And more particularly, the foundation takes up initiatives along with corporates, to discharge their CSR responsibilities. We started in 2001 when CSR was not really the mandate in India. As probably you all know that it was mandated in 2014 when India was the first country to bring it out as an act, as a law, that all the corporates are required to do a CSR, provided they fulfill certain conditions. We can discuss those conditions later if required, or you can look up for the conditions. So all the big corporates having a certain turnover and profit was supposed to do CSR. So along with that, when RO Foundation was doing its grassroots work, we also went with those mandated CSR initiatives, and also the sustainability as it was upcoming in those days. The buzzword was sustainability, and everybody was coming up with sustainable efforts and at least trying to do and planning to do sustainable CSR or sustainable development. At the same time, sustainable development goals were coming in. 2005, we had the sustainable development goals, which gave us a framework to work on the sustainability. So RO Foundation has been trying to work towards CSR, towards sustainability, and we are trying to provide powerful models for sustainable growth for the corporates under their CSR initiatives. And we are also working along with government, with convergence with the government efforts, so that, we can create a holistic model where sustainability comes in a big way, and it's the cross-cutting theme across all of our efforts in CSR. So for the past 20 years, we've been working on multi-sectoral initiatives in the field of education, health and sanitation, women's empowerment, skill development and sustainable livelihoods, renewable energy, water, access to water. We are working towards all these initiatives to provide better environment, more sustainable environment, sustainable economic growth, and sustainable social initiatives to the communities across India. Thank you so much.
Greetings, people of the world. My fellow panelists and I are delighted to be here. Thank you, Della Leaders Club, for giving us this opportunity. I am Mohini Daljit Singh, a former founding CEO of Max India Foundation. My journey of social giving started at a very early age, where I was working with servants' children and volunteering at Mother Teresa's home as a student. As an army wife, I spent 35 years and more doing welfare and social work for the families of soldiers on the healthcare, education, personal counseling, and quality of life areas. In 2007, Providence brought me to Max India, where I started the CSR wing, the Max India Foundation. My team and I benefited about 35 lakh individuals and their families on the healthcare platform in 704 locations. We did pan-India immunization through Max Life offices, health camps, high-end surgeries and treatments for the underprivileged. We did artificial limb camps. We worked with the UNODC for drug addiction awareness in Punjab. And we adopted village clusters in Uttarakhand and in Punjab. And in these, besides doing all of the above, we also provided water, library books, science equipment, sports equipment, health education, menstrual hygiene education, and the like. Our anti-tobacco campaign was also a big hit in Delhi, where we started the challans and so on. So this has been a tremendous journey. I think when passion becomes work, it is enjoyable. Together, we won several awards, including 4 Golden Peacock Awards for Best CSR, and also personal awards like Best CSR Leader, then CSR Leader, Woman Leader in Singapore and in Colombo. Well, today we are going to focus on sustainability. Sustainability is a crucial, compelling, central, I would say, imperative issue of this millennium. Very simply put, it says that sustainability fulfills the needs of the people of these generations by ensuring that we can fulfill the needs of the generations to come as much. Therefore, it has to be something that can continue. It has to survive. That is what sustainability really is. And for this, we have to conserve. We have to conserve our natural resources, our social resources, as well as economic resources. And there has to be a balance between these. This balance is often called the ecological balance between people, planet, and profits. Now, this balance to be brought about means that you have to pay equal attention to social equity. That means the people have to remain well and survive. Then there has to be economic viability. We have to have the means to do this. And then we have to do environment protection. Only when these things move together can we say that we have a sustainable, should I say, present, which will lead to a sustainable future. But I want to ask this question. Are we maintaining this balance? Obviously, no. There are huge challenges we are facing even as we talk today. We all know about the wildfires, the unusual heat wave. This year, Europe has really been hit. They never thought this would be happening to them. The ice is melting, the sea level is rising. All this is causing absolute havoc. Climate change is visible, friends. It's there. The environment has been plundered and the atmosphere is damaged, I would say, so polluted that we can't even survive. Now, something has to be done. And as far as people are concerned, they need sustainable food with ethical farming and need to consume less and more responsibility. Now, only sustainability, focused sustainability, can give us clean water, can give us a good atmosphere, and help us to grow our resources. This development of sustainability has to be done in an integrated way. That means as we grow economically, we have to keep in mind the environment And that really hasn't been happening, has it? We have been plundering, we have been sacrificing our green cover for the sake of urban development unplanned. But then, as companies, as responsible, we feel we are so knowledgeable, we are so well organized, we have strategy, we have planning, and we also have the resources. So should we not be doing something about it? Now, my colleagues and I make a strong bid for CSR. We feel that this is one of the ways in which we can multiply, geometrically progress towards sustainability. You know that the government, of course, Neelam mentioned the SDGs, which is, yes, the United Nations came out with the Sustainable Development Goals. Governments have repeatedly made promises of sustaining sustainability, but that hasn't quite happened. So let us today try and understand what we can do on the corporate social responsibility platform. And can we make that leapfrog? Because just like we are connected today, it was so easy to connect. We are across the world. We can actually work together because this needs a integrated, concerted, and what should I say, a very sincere effort on the part of all of us together. In Max India Foundation 1.0, we were doing healthcare, but we were working in those geographies and locations with those children, with those schools where other organizations were doing education, they were doing skill training, and they were doing other things. So what happens? All together, all our efforts together make the organization go up, become more sustainable. They're able to earn their own living. They understand how to do waste management. They understand how to dispose their garbage. I forgot to mention that in those villages that we had adopted, we did amazing amount of, we did a waste management project. Then we also did a sewage treatment plant. And in fact, it was a large cluster of 5 villages. So in 5 phases, we did this. And let me tell you that Dehradun was putting its sewage program in place at that time when we were doing it for these villages. And one of the phases was biodegradable bathrooms. And the other was making sure the bathrooms were there as well as the STPs were there. So nothing is impossible if you have the intent. And here as corporates, not only do we have the intent, but we have the talent and we have the resources. Now, let me talk about intent. Somebody mentioned the Companies Act 2030. Well, when many of us were doing our CSR well before that, some of us were doing it to tick the box. Some of us were doing it more sincerely. But for a lot of companies, even today, they think CSR is more of a branding exercise. It is more of a marketing exercise. Friends, it has to be way beyond that. Because in giving, you receive. Believe me, I know that I started the foundation in 2007, well, 8. And it was difficult to get a lot of people from the finance team and others to see any this, but you're not going to make profit. You're not going. I kept telling them, just wait. The kind of profit that my work will make is going to be much beyond what your work is going to make. And that is true. They ultimately admitted the kind of goodwill that you generate. Now, there are 2-3 things, as you know. Firstly, a responsible corporate has a good reputation. That is so important. Don't all of us know it from the Tatas and Birlas? You know, we sort of trust them a little more because we know they do good work. Of course, there are so many such examples globally. Now, what happens is when you work in such an organization, your own self-esteem, employees are happier. They are proud to belong. And with happy employees, what do you get? You get better production. Thirdly, consumers are happy to buy from an organization that does good work. So when people know of your CSR and its impact, they want to definitely come and work with you, for you, and buy from you. That in itself is going to improve your profits, and then you can put in more. So let us not make a hogwash of it. Let us do it sincerely with good intent. As we build our business, we are building our community. As we are building our community, we are building our nation. As we are building our nation, we are building our planet. And that, friends, is where sustainability will come from. If all of us keep these few things in mind, in the long term, ethics always win. Ethical practices for basic needs. For goodness sake, we all need air to breathe. We all need water to drink. We all need a home. Now, if we don't work for it today, what's going to happen to our grandchildren? They're already pointing fingers that your generation has messed it up. So let's stop messing it up anymore. Let's get on board and see what we can do while doing good for ourselves through CSR and for our environment, for our community. We will do good for all of us. So with this, I will now, I'll come back to you, but with this, I now call upon Meenakshi. She mentioned she has a diverse experience. I'd like you to tell us, Meenakshi, a little about your specific projects, how through HSBC and through the India Sanitation, you were able to give back to a sustainable future.
Thank you, Mohini. You really articulated the problem at hand and the solution so beautifully. As I'd mentioned, where I had actually got trained as a sustainability leader at HSBC through Earthwatch. And the reason that they trained us was because we had really large teams and we could make an impact in our society. I was based in Bangalore those days, and I was heading the Center for HSBC at Bangalore. And water was a global theme for, my organization at that point. And this was the year 2014, 2015, where there was an issue with water. We took up two different areas that we could engage in, tied up with a couple of NGOs, because obviously grassroots execution, you need a partner. So we tied up with a couple of NGOs at that point. And we took up two themes that we thought that we could make a difference and where our employees could also get involved in. So the themes, we took up was rainwater harvesting in the districts of Tumkur and Kolar, because they are water deprived. Along with that, we went ahead and also took up sanitation, because that was the year that sanitation had been called out 2015 as an area of focus by our Prime Minister. So we said we'll go ahead and help to build villages, toilets in the villages, and also educate people the importance of using toilets. So it was two-pronged, because if you educate people, and that's where I could get my employees involved. They would come into the villages. We had, volunteering leave, which we were given 2 days in a year. And that's how people could take time out, sign up, and come to the villages, educate the people about the need for clean hygiene and how you can use the toilets. So we help people to build up toilets. And I think it was a smartly done move. The way we did it was, we said we'll pay for 80%, but 20% commitment needs to come from the individual. And what was fabulous was to see that the women wanting to get the toilets done.
Of course.
They were the ones who were pushing for it and saying, we need the toilets. Please help us. Similarly, we helped to actually build toilets in the schools so that we could encourage the girl child to come into schools, but they weren't coming. They had dropped off at the age of 8 or 9 because there were no toilets available in the schools. There are a lot of village graffiti as well to explain to them the importance of actually clean hygiene habits. Similarly, with Kolar and, doing what we could for rainwater harvesting and teaching people how it is important, because what people tend to do is they enter with a lot of excitement, and then the excitement tapers and it becomes a storage area. Similarly, the toilets become a storage area.
Yes.
So these are areas that we had to kind of, have that education and get our people involved. What is also interestingly so, and you brought that up, is the younger generation. When we would go to campuses for hiring, the younger generation would ask at colleges, what are you doing from a CSR perspective?
Yes.
I don't remember those conversations happening when, even about 10 years ago, nobody in colleges would be asking a question from the, team who had come in at the campus, what are you doing from a CSR perspective? And we'd be seeing actually the younger people who would be signing up for the projects to go into the villages and to see how they could make a difference. When I made the crossover to India Sanitation Coalition, which is really a catalyst in creating an environment about understanding what needs to be done from a sanitation perspective, I could actually bring in my knowledge, which I picked up in the corporate world, and use that to actually work with corporates as well, and create that awareness and request for their help. And we had a lot of the Indian corporates who actually signed up, who were willing to go ahead, partner with us, and then executing arm NGO at the grassroots level to create that awareness for whether it was for water, whether it was sanitation. These were the areas that we could pick up and work on. And I think so, whether you're in the development sector or you're in the corporate sector, it's a responsibility for all of us to see what we can do and drive that. So
yeah, thanks, Meenakshi. I think that was good. And while you say that, that's very relevant, whether you are in the corporate sector or in the development sector. Here, I want to add, there's one third dimension, which is very important, that is individual social responsibility. I think we need to, all of us, start with that, and then that, of course, gets multiplied. So thank you so much. If you have something, we'll come back to you. I thought in the meantime, let's hear something from Neelam about her grassroots level work with RO. And I believe that her NGO was awarded specially for having addressed all the sustainable development goals. Well, bravo and kudos to you for that. Wonderful. Let's hear from you now, your views on how CSR can be that crucial link to bridge corporates to sustainability, to, in fact, to bring about sustainability.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohini. I think, as Meenakshi said, that you beautifully explained the concept of sustainability and CSR and how they can be combined to bring, make our planet and our lives survive on this planet. Basically, it's now about our survival. Sustainability is all about survival. And as you have mentioned, I was reading a report by PwC, which says that 78% of the consumers would be more likely to interact with the business that incorporates sustainability or SDGs into their business strategy. And as Meenakshi has explained, having experienced both sides of the fence, it is very, very important. And the kind of work they have done, obviously, it boomerangs back to the credibility of the organization, and also, uplifts all of us here who are present on the planet. So I am very fortunate, actually, to be working with some of the corporates who have, a good CSR in their DNA, who are also now thinking towards sustainability. There has been a paradigm shift in these 4 or 5 years, when everybody is thinking of sustainable initiatives, sustainable projects, and long-term projects which create an impact, and a long-lasting impact, which is also tangible, measurable. You can go and see, you can check on ground what has happened. If you recall, our government has a lot of schemes. It's not that Indian government is not doing much. In fact, the kind of money Indian government is spending on welfare is many, many fold than the CSR funds. We have so many schemes, but the missing part is sustainability. The government moves our, various schemes, and we are doing in all sectors, education, be it skilling, women's empowerment, environment. But after 2 years, after 1 year, you don't see those things existing on ground. That's why all these 75 years of independence, We don't see the kind of progress, the kind of, infrastructure, the kind of people that we would like to see in an independent nation. So here, what we are trying to do through CSR is to bridge that gap. Wherever government's effort are missing, lacking, or they are not able to do justice, there we chip in. And I will give you this example, which you have just talked about, the awarded project. This is the project for holistic rural development, where we are touching upon people's life holistically, and touching the three broad areas of social capital, economic development, as well as environmental capital, so that you can bring a holistic change and ultimately drive sustainability through your project. So this project was not only awarded by Global Compact Network India as the best practice for sustainable development, but I am glad to tell you that this was also given the national award last year for sustainability. It was the Government of India's award. It has won for Chhattisgarh. So this project has very, very beautifully demonstrated how we can bring sustainable change. And even if you go after 3 years into those villages where we have worked, you will find that there is a transformation. They have moved towards sustainability, and they are now prosperous villages. They are doing well for themselves, and people are working well for themselves. We touch upon agriculture to bring sustainable agriculture, where we take up crop diversification practices, water optimization or judicious use of water, like using micro irrigation, sprinklers, so that you can conserve water as well as you can enhance the productivity of the crops. And then we take up, of course, health and sanitation, one of the major areas to build social capital, capacity building. And then we take up, renewable energy, introduction of renewable energy in the villages. As we all know that government has not been able to supply round the clock power in villages, electrification there, but not so much of power outages are a big thing in the villages. So we provide solar lights, solar water pumps, so that they can get round the clock facilities. And then we also take up natural resource management, which includes protection of environment, conservation of environment, as well as enhancement of environment by building ponds, by building, rejuvenating water bodies in the villages, greening the villages, afforestation. So it's a kind of holistic project where you leave the area after its holistic development, and it becomes it's a beauty to watch that village with all its waste management done, with greenery done, with and most important part is we build institutions in the village. When it comes to sustainability, if you leave it like that, it will just go bad again after a couple of years. So we build VDCs, which are village development committees. They are strengthened. Their capacity building is done. We build SMCs in schools. Schools, they retain their change, whatever transformation has been brought. Then we build a lot of SHG, where women are strengthened to not only do their micro enterprises, but also to take care of the assets which are built in the village. Like water committees, the environmental committees. Then children are motivated as leaders. We make them champions of change. We make them environment champions. So the whole process is just built towards sustainability. So that, at the end of the project, when we leave or when we plan our exit after 4 years, it's a long-term project. So after 4 years, when exit is planned, we know we are leaving it in safe hands. We register the assets with the government so that government knows these are built and they have to take care of that. We work a lot with the government convergence so that their schemes are also brought in the villages, and the people start demanding those schemes and demanding those facilities which the government is giving. All the SHGs are linked with National Livelihood Mission, National Rural Livelihood Mission, NRLM, so that they take loans from there, they take credit from there, and they are also capacity enhancement. This not only saves the resources, we are able to work on shoestring budgets, we are able to work on optimized resources, but also we leave it after, making all the initiatives very sustainable. So this is how one example I've given, which is the model which can be replicated anywhere, which can be taken, just a chapter out of any village, and you can just go and read it in some other village. So this is something I think which can also be replicated and scaled up to different areas and remote areas. And I think if anybody wants to reach out to us for this type of model, where they want to do sustainable development, any corporate who is looking at a long-term project and leave after doing sustainable development, they may reach out to us to DLC. We can share. I believe in sharing the knowledge and sharing the initiatives, how it has been done. So it is open to all to come and visit and to also look at those initiatives, how they've been done. So this is one example, Mohini, as you asked. I've given, there are hundreds of other examples in 20 years that we've been able to create success stories in villages, which we can talk about later if time permits. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Neelam. That was wonderful.
Project.
That was wonderful. And kudos to you and your team for doing so much. Very interestingly, you use the word holistic. Actually, when one is working on the ground, one realizes that all the dots join up very soon. We just have to start. I think both Meenakshi and Neelam must have experienced it. When we first decided to adopt a village cluster, near Dehradun, where we have a number of our group companies, since we were working on the healthcare platform, so I really thought, what can we do to really perpetuate this work? I mean, we can do health camps and things but what will be left behind? So anyway, we started, of course, with cleaning up the village, involving the school children, then got the ashas and anganwadis involved, started on the collecting of waste, separating it, and the garbage disposal, things like that. But and every month I would organize a multi-speciality health camp in Dhakrani through Max Hospital, Dehradun. We used to take our specialists. I would come from Delhi and we would provide them with free medicine. And during these medical camps, we would do either street plays through NGOs or other things to give, more awareness of health. And also I did immunization camps. Now, a lot of people may say, why immunization? It's a government project. When we started in 2007, in the government's own admission, less than 40% of children were immunized. And those days, even hepatitis B was not given. So in 2008, we started after, working on an SOP, because this is one place where you cannot go wrong. You see, health is something, I mean, you can't just do a pilot project and disappear. Yeah. So we had health cards, we used to do first a survey and then follow up. And then that geography, those number of children each got all whatever was required, MMR, hepatitis B, and mostly it was done through schools because that's an easier way to do it, through the schools and other places where we were working. So we did that also. Now, the moment you do children, and though we said health, but what is not health? Obviously, water is health. So you start on the water, then we went to the school, and then is sports not health? Yes, so therefore you do sports fields, then you give them equipment, you try to get them coaching. We're doing that in Punjab, especially to keep the children away from other things, to keep them occupied besides physically fit, and so on and so forth. So really, when you start, it's a multiplier effect. And we gave them STEM learning labs, where it was libraries. Then for the women, we used to give them awareness on menstrual health. We started a sanitary pads manufacturing unit in the village and got the villagers, the ladies there to manage it. One lady was slightly educated. She'd done up to class 8 and she was a little mature in her 40s. I had helped her husband to get a hip replacement. So she was also a little, more ready to help, and she managed it. And then we would sell it at, well, very little, just 50, some little percent in the village itself, and these girls were allowed to sort of go around and they would get a commission. So it was a good project which went on. Yet I thought that what am I leaving behind? So that is when we started thinking about the wastewater and the STP project. Now that was huge, and the challenges I cannot mention. I particularly actually want to mention because this is what I think all of us face. You see, when you go to a village with a project, firstly, the people think, what is it? What is in it for me? Especially the panchayat and the members. Okay? Isme mujhe kya labh hoga? They are going to spend crores, but what's coming to me? Sadly, this is the case in the villages. So it was very difficult, but since we were not parting with a penny to anybody, we were just going to execute it through our vendors. So ultimately they realized there was no way. But then the village rivalries come up. Yeah. Because the village head was one group. They are always political groups. Yes. The others were of another group. So we would make a pipe, and you know that area is very stony. It is by the banks of the Yamuna. So it was very difficult to dig and lay pipes underground. We would lay a pipe, and then we would find some people have gone and blocked it with bricks and things. So believe me, it was a big challenge, but I was determined. And then we did like one STP for 3 phases and so on and so forth. And for the 5th phase, we had to cross a highway, so we couldn't continue the pipe. So we had to make the biodigester system, one for each of 10 houses. But it worked well, and I haven't been there lately because we have now quitted the project. We handed over the whole thing to the local government, panchayat and everybody, very, with paperwork and all, and I hope it goes well. But now I understand what you say, Neelam, about holistic. I think we did every possible thing. We also started a small institute for school dropouts. So along with another NGO, I can't remember, Holding Hands or something, I forgot, from Bangalore. And they were teaching them soft skills like computer and how to speak. And, you know, these girls, most of them were Muslim girls and from very conservative backgrounds, but learned a lot of English. You know, they were being trained to be salespeople in shops, and they could do a bit of computer learning. We provided the entire infrastructure, and so many of them who had dropped out of school came and joined in, which was fantastic. You decide, and if you're sincere, the ideas come on their own. There is a bright future. If we really want to make it, we can. And one more thing I want to say specifically, Meenakshi, you spoke about, young people asking about the CSR projects, and that's very interesting. And I also see that, of course, abroad, and I think maybe in India as well, now students in school need to have a profile where they need to show what work they have done in the social sector. Many times they need to have a project and things like that. And this is wonderful because it encourages youngsters to think right, to think of sustainability. And that is why you find so many of them questioning us now. And I think that's a very, very wonderful thing to happen. And maybe as corporates, we should think more about it, even perhaps as NGOs, and get young students, even from school and from college, to come and intern with us. Which reminds me that, SRCC in Delhi, Sri Ram College of Commerce, and Hindu College, we worked with quite closely with Max India Foundation. They were doing an economic project where they were giving loans to rickshaw owners, because those people used to rent rickshaws for the day. They had to pay the rent whether they could or could not, make the money. So they were trying to get them loans. So I said, let me do a health camp for all your rickshawalas. Then they turned out a few of them needed cataract surgery. So we did that. But just that was the start, after which we did so many projects together. They would come and ask us for help or advice, and we became really good friends, the group. And Hindu College was very much into environment issues, and they had a club. for which, again, we worked together. I went and spoke on several occasions. I had them over. Again, it was like this. And I'm happy to say some of the children who've passed out are still in touch. And wherever they are, somebody is in Deutsche Bank, somebody is somewhere. They all want to do good.
So I think, I'll just try to bring back the corporate angle and what corporates can do from a CSR and sustainability angle. And I'm seeing that happen across a lot of the organizations, whether it's in India or globally, is the fact that, it starts right at the office. What are you doing? Most corporates, I think now, are keep doing away with even simple things like paper towels, those 3-ply which you have in the toilets, because that has an impact as well on the environment. They're doing away with paper cups as well, creating green buildings, being very, very careful on that front. Solar power has now been used in most of the corporates when they're setting up their new buildings. They are looking at solar power. That's something that they're doing as well. I've also seen reuse of wastewater in the toilets. So that is very, very heartening as well. That, all the corporates are making that effort internally. Externally, most of them are also now trying to tie up with vendors who are actually following the ESG, norms and making sure that their, impact on the environment is minimal. And they actually have them fill up that form before they can even tie up with the corporates. So that, you have to do it. It has to go across the chain. Not only are you making a concerted effort, but you're also ensuring that who you tie up with are also, not having as much of an impact on the environment, tracking carbon footprint. I think these are the kind of things that most corporates are trying to do, whether they're domestic, whether they're international, but all of them are making those steps in that direction, which is very, very heartening. And
that's wonderful, yes.
Can influence
green
that
supply chain, absolutely.
Yes.
Ethical and green supply chain and green buildings, absolutely. Thank you so much, Meenakshi, for that, because that's a wonderful pointer. Thank you so much.
Bring sustainability is not an easy task. There are very many challenges given the diversity and given the kind of structure that we have in India, the lack of education, ignorance. And believe me, also CSR can be a good vehicle to drive it. That is also true. So how do we bring it is very important. From my side, I would say we work on 4 Ps, which I think everybody can adopt. So we should know our purpose very clearly, what we are trying to do. We work with passion and we have patience and perseverance. That is what I tell corporates also. Don't give short-lived projects. Take long-term projects. Wait for the results to come. Do not rush. Sometimes we have failures, but success will come if we keep working on it. Keep going.
That's a wonderful lesson. That's a wonderful lesson, Neelam. I think the bottom line is we are doing a lot. The corporates are there. However, we are not quite there.
Yes.
To connect, to get that bridge, let us empower our CSR wings, because they're unimpaired. If the government changes, their work is not going to change. With a lot of good intent, sincerity, and purpose, with patience and perseverance,
and
we can, through our CSR, take that bridge across. And we must become more sustainable. We have to, for ourselves and for the next generations to come.
DLT plays a key role in actually educating its members, its communities, and having an impact. The different kind of themes that they pick up are so knowledgeable that I have joined in and heard a lot about different areas which may not impact me personally, but which I'd like to know more about. I'm also happy and available. If anybody wants to reach out to me, please reach out through DLC and get my coordinates. And if there's anything that I can kind of support you on from a CSR perspective or anything else, do reach out. Thank you.
DLC is a great platform. It works 2 ways. In fact, it allows you to share knowledge. It allows you to share your views and come on a global platform. It also allows you to get knowledge, receive knowledge from others who are doing so well. And this DLC is doing a wonderful job in connecting global community in various domains. And I'm so thankful to DLC for giving this opportunity to come here and talk about the very important issue of CSR and sustainable development. Thank you, DLC, for bringing us together to discuss about this topic. Thank you.
DLC has given us this wonderful opportunity to share our views and come together under a global umbrella. This is a very important part that DLC is playing. Thank you so much. You can actually be a global leader. Like we said, that, we all do our little individual good. But if we come together, we can do much more geometrically. And that can be done if there is a central organization to take a lead. And I see this possibility in DLC. And I wish you all the best. I'm a happy member of it. If there's anything I can do on a personal level, please get through to me through DLC, and I would be very happy. I look forward to in the years to come for some wonderful, huge, should I say, wins, where it is a win-win all through, led by DLC and its leadership team. Thank you, DLC.